Have you ever woken up staring at the ceiling, wishing for a different life, but without the will to get out of bed? This is Lucas's story, and it might be yours too. Lucas was 17 and had a huge dream. He wanted to be someone important, have money, respect, freedom. He spent hours watching videos of successful people on social media, imagining how incredible it would be to have that life. But when he turned off his phone, he returned to reality. Messy room, late school assignments, his mom calling for the third time to wake him up. "I'll start tomorrow," he'd say. But tomorrow became later, and later became never. At school, Lucas saw his classmates excelling. Miguel already had a channel with thousands of subscribers. Beatrice was learning fluent English. Pedro woke up at 5 in the morning to train. And Lucas was always too tired to start anything. They're lucky, he thought. I wasn't born with that gift. The truth hurt more than he admitted. When he was alone in his room at night, staring at the dark ceiling, a question hammered in his head. Am I going to be like this forever? Just someone who dreams but never does. The years were passing quickly. 18, 19, 20, and Lucas remained in the same place, watching everyone around him grow while he stood still, trapped in a routine he created himself. The guilt and shame began to weigh heavy. He avoided meeting old friends, avoided conversations about the future, avoided even looking in the mirror for too long. It was on a regular Saturday, when Lucas was lying on the couch endlessly scrolling through his feed, that his grandfather sat beside him. Jorge was a simple man, a retired bricklayer, rough hands from a lifetime of work. "Can I tell you something?" his grandfather asked. Lucas shrugged, not taking his eyes off his phone. "When I was your age, I was lazy too. You know what my biggest talent was? Making up excuses." That caught Lucas's attention. He looked at his grandfather for the first time. "I wanted to build a house for your grandmother. A real house, you know. But every time I looked at the empty lot, I thought, it's too big, impossible. I'll never make it." "So what happened?" Lucas asked, still skeptical. "Then one day an old construction foreman gave me advice that changed everything. He said, 'Jorge, you don't build a house all at once. You lay one brick, then another, and another. And before you know it, the house is standing.'" "But that's obvious, Grandpa," Lucas retorted. "It's obvious. But are you doing it?" his grandfather asked, looking deep into his grandson's eyes. "Are you laying at least one brick a day in your life?" The silence was heavy. Lucas felt a tightness in his chest because he knew the answer. "You know what the secret is," Jorge continued. "It's not about having willpower. Everyone has willpower when they're inspired. The secret is doing it on the days you don't want to. Those are the days when the most important bricks are laid." "But what if I laid the wrong brick?" Lucas murmured. And in that moment, the vulnerability leaked out. "What if I try and fail? At least now I have the excuse that I never really tried." His grandfather put his hand on his shoulder. "Son, you think you're afraid of failing. But what you're really afraid of is discovering that you're capable. Because if you discover you're capable, you won't have any more excuses not to try." Those words echoed for days in Lucas's head, until one Monday, he did something different. He didn't plan, didn't promise, didn't tell anyone. He simply laid one brick. He woke up 15 minutes earlier and did 10 push-ups, just 10, then had breakfast and went on with his day. "This is ridiculous," he thought. 10 push-ups won't change anything. But on Tuesday, he did it again. 10 push-ups. Wednesday too. Thursday, without thinking much, he did 12. He started small in other areas too. Studied English for 5 minutes before bed. Made his bed every morning. Answered an email he'd been putting off for weeks. They were things so small they almost seemed useless. But something strange began to happen. In the second week, Lucas noticed he was sleeping better. In the third, he had more energy during the day. By the end of the first month, he had lost 6 pounds and learned 50 new words in English. The results were small, but the internal change was massive. For the first time in years, Lucas looked in the mirror and felt respect for himself. I'm someone who does what they promise, he thought. And that identity changed everything. But life tested Lucas. There were bad weeks. There were days he returned to old habits. The difference was that now he knew how to come back. One bad day was no longer an excuse for a bad week. 6 months later, Lucas was waking up at 5:30 in the morning. He trained, studied, worked on a personal project. But the most incredible thing wasn't the external results. It was who he had become. A year after the day his grandfather sat with him, Lucas looked back and no longer recognized that boy on the couch. He had started a technical course, was in shape, spoke basic English, had a solid routine. But most importantly, he had dignity. He met Miguel, the friend with the famous channel, who commented, "Dude, you've changed. You're different." And Lucas smiled, because he knew the change hadn't been from an epic moment of inspiration or a magical overnight transformation. It had been from choosing to lay one brick, and then another, and another, small. Discipline changes destiny, not because small actions are powerful alone, but because they build the person you become. And the person you become determines the life you live. So answer me, what brick are you going to lay today? It doesn't need to be big. It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be one. Because a year from now, you'll be somewhere. The question is, will you be on the same couch? Or will you be looking back amazed at how far you've walked? The choice was always yours. If this story touched you in any way, subscribe to the channel. Every week I bring stories that can change your perspective. Because small changes lead to big transformations, and your transformation starts now.